Hello, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to the Arrowhead Kingdom Chiefs Cast live from the MKE, where we will be talking Chiefs and all things NFL. I am Chris.
And I'm Josh, and today we're going to be talking the NFL draft. Apparently, 4 hours and 15 minutes of it last Thursday wasn't enough, so we're going to talk about that today. And a big reminder that all Chiefs fans are invited to join us for game day. Visit arrowheadkingdom.org to learn more about the group and to find your local chapter. And please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
Today we'll be talking about your Kansas City Chiefs with Brian Reynolds, who in mine, Josh's hearts, means that Andy Richter is Brian Reynolds-esque.
Yeah, there you go. And we're, of course, presented by Complete Weddings and Events, your leading provider of photo, video, DJ, photo booth, lighting, and coordination services. Visit them at CompleteWeDo.com. So like we said, 4 hours and 15 minutes is how long we live streamed for last week, Thursday.
Very impressive. That was very impressive.
Yeah, that turned into a job halfway through, not gonna lie. So 4 hours and 15 minutes we did the live stream. I think we definitely have more live stream type of content like that in our future, so we'll want you to make sure you're keeping track of what we're doing, and we'll keep everybody in the loop. We got more live streaming coming up, but I think today we're recapping the draft, and so let's start with the way that we kind of started our draft coverage with our first round pick, one Orlando Brown Jr., who is an offensive tackle from the University of Oklahoma, who was also a two-time Pro Bowler that we got in a trade with the Ravens. So anything left to say about that, Chris?
No, and I plan on writing more about it in our blog, but I mean, it's a great move for 2021. And I hope that it pans out to be a really good long-term investment. But in terms of shoring up Patrick Mahomes' blind side for next year, I think they accomplished that with Orlando Brown.
Yeah, I totally agree. Honestly, I don't care what happens past 2021. I really hope they sign him to a long-term contract, which means that I hope he means that he wants to stay around. And I hope that at the end of this season, he's played so well this year, shoring up Patrick Mahomes' blind side, that it's the obvious move to sign him to a long-term contract and everything just works itself out. That's pretty much the only extra tidbit that I would give. So, Brian, what are your thoughts on Orlando Brown, our new left tackle?
I would say that, I mean, and this goes along with like the whole line as well, but not the whole line, but in this case, I think the sentiment was that, you could take a draft pick of someone who's like not tested in the NFL, a situation like that. There's something to be said with obviously it's not someone new coming out a little bit younger, but no, this is time tested and someone who, like you said, Pro Bowler. And there's something about that like, okay, we can do that with a draft pick and use it like that situation, or we can do this seems like a safer bet from my kind of opinion. We'll see how it plays out. Obviously, it's just everything is kind of skeptical or we're predicting at this point, but feels pretty. I gotta say, when you have a person who's 6'9", 330 and makes the Pro Bowl, like it's gonna be man. That's a large person, and it's gonna be hard to get around that person. So shore that up with the other players we got on the line. I think Mahomes has himself a wall to work with here, so it's looking good.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we can kind of jump the gun a little bit. We haven't in the off season done any If This Week Was a Song. Maybe this week is a song. Can we all just align and say that Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd is what our song is going to be? Because the amount of offensive line shoring up that we did, not only before the draft, but what's been happening during the draft as well. I think he's another brick in the wall.
Yeah, I concur with that.
All right, so we're aligned.
Yes.
I do think education's still a very important thing, though you should question if your teachers are like spoon feeding you propaganda. However, not to say that's the purpose of that song. It kind of is, but yeah.
Well, how are you supposed to get your meat if you don't eat your pudding? Or how are you supposed to get your pudding if you don't eat your meat? That's what it is. Right. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Maybe the teachers should leave the kids alone just a little bit. Don't
Well,
steal.
what was interesting, we had Chris Stockdale come on during the live stream, which by the way, he was a great guest for
It
a draft
was.
analysis. And he came in and he actually taught school at the University of Oklahoma. And when we were talking about I think we were talking about mainly just Orlando Brown and everything, but he made a comment about being a teacher teaching undergrad kids, and he could, see the athletes that were serious about making sure that they checked all the boxes they were supposed to. And we talked a bit about how that kind of shows, if you're a professional, you're always a professional, and if you're a true pro, you're in school for a reason. So what's the point in just bombing out and getting a D or an F? You're there, make the most of it. And that was one of the places that we kind of went. And I think that lends to whatever your profession is. There's a difference between kind of skating and just truly mailing it in, and not putting any effort into something. And definitely have to admire the ones who put the effort in.
Well, my thought process on that is, if you are an elite athlete, it happens because not because only because you're like obviously physically talented, but also your discipline level is very high. It's very very high, and that bleeds into other things as well. Like, I mean, it's not always the case, but it seems like a good fit for anyone who is like can perform at a D1 level or any college level or any kind of especially professional. Like, yeah, you have you have all the tools needed to like stay focused and to perform at a high level. That's essentially what when you're like working the muscle that is your brain and working like through academia. So yeah, that I've always, whenever a professional athlete, like if people were talking about along something along the lines that yeah they skated by or they were focused. I'm like, I'm not surprised. I mean, professional athletes are disciplined individuals. That's essentially what you got to do when you're in school, is just stay focused and perform well. Oh, it's hard to say that also as performers. You also have practices every twice a day, and you have to perform in front of 10,000 people or 20,000 people. But still, and I'm thinking like, well, they have all the discipline and the focus to do it. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of high level academic achievement in that world.
So there's a saying that I've always kind of gone by and liked, and this is more from a professional standpoint, but you always get eventually one job beyond where you're supposed to be. And so you could talk about that as the coordinator who's great in the NFL that can't make it as a head coach. So think Romeo Crennel. That's a good example there.
Mhm.
Charlie Weiss is another one of those when we're talking about former
Norv
coordinators that we
Turner.
had. Yeah, Norv Turner. And so you have something like that. So in professional business, it's the same way. And it's like the director that just has no business being a director because, they can't run a team of 10 people. And I think that as a professional athlete or as an athlete in general, your raw, just being a beast human being skill can take you so far, and depending on who you are will tell you how far you can take it. But I would say that there's not a single NFL player that I can think of, with the exception of maybe Randy Moss, that was just good to play in the league without putting the tremendous amount of focus in. And you look at guys like Tom Brady, and he's the epitome of tremendous focus. And he's the equivalent of like a Bill Gates or a Jeff Bezos. There's not a job that's too big for you. You've obviously figured it out. So you kind of broke the world, and now you're just competing against yourself. And guys like Brady kind of have that vibe. But you can think of all kinds of athletes who just come in and they're freaks of nature and they play for a couple seasons, and it's like, well, maybe if you wouldn't go out and wreck your body on the weekends and you'd treat it like Tom Brady did, you'd be playing for 20 years.
And that brings me to this thought as well, like a Tom Brady situation or any one of the athletes. It's like, yeah, they're in football and they like football. It's a lot of fun, or they have a lot of football intelligence. And they spend a lot of time working on it, practicing and studying it. And I think, yeah, you put any of that kind of focus on any kind of job skill, learning programming languages. If you spend as much time playing football and playing as you did, like, and put that time into learning a programming language, like you would probably be employed at Google or Apple in no time, because the amount of focus, you put your 10, like Malcolm Gladwell said, you put your 10,000 hours in on anything and you'll become an expert on it. But it just so happens that their talents and their focus and their energy and their inspiration is football related. And makes total sense to me. Yeah, go get it. If that's what you like to do and that's what you're talented at and you like and you're good at it, go get it.
Yeah, big believer in the 10,000 hour thing. I've always loved that concept. So let's get into our first actual draft pick, which was in round 2, pick number 58. So we have Missouri linebacker Nick Bolton. Chris, what are your thoughts on Nick Bolton?
I've heard a lot of different takes on Nick Bolton and a lot of different angles here. I think Nick Bolton helps probably add to what I consider to be the weakest unit on the team, which is the linebacker position. And as um, gosh, I think it was the guys on Arrowhead Pride, they were saying the good thing about this is that you don't have to see as much of 56, which he talked a lot about Ben Neiman, which, don't get me wrong, Ben Neiman definitely plays his ass off and he's good at a few things, but to have a guy in there like Nick Bolton, who, from what I understand, is a guy who can actually, I don't know if he's a true complete sideline to sideline linebacker, but it sounds like he can cover ground. And also he pretty much hits guys very hard. He's a very hard tackler. So just having a guy like that, complement, Anthony Hitchens, which that's the other stipulation is that eventually after the Chiefs move on from Anthony Hitchens, that Nick Bolton's going to be the Mike linebacker. That's I think the long-term vision for him. And also to complement Willie Gay, I think it's a good pick. I mean, it definitely fits a need. And I did hear from some people that he was a late first round pick. So to get him at 58 sounds like good value.
Yeah, I would say that I agree. The thing that jumped out at me from just a play standpoint is he's been called by numerous different venues, avenues, whatever you want to say, as a tackling machine. And I would say if you look at the difference between a good defense and a bad defense in the NFL, I think a lot of times can come down to how good are they at tackling, and that seems pretty basic, but common sense isn't common, and not every NFL defender is good at tackling. So to have a guy out there who's going to be in the middle of the field, cover a lot of ground, and who's going to hit as hard as he can and wrap up and have the best tackle form seems like a good fit for a defense that's got a Super Bowl ambition every single year playing on the other side of our offense. The other thing that I have to point out that wasn't lost on me, our greatest chief and most people's minds, Derek Thomas, number 58. I think it's crazy that we picked the linebacker with pick number 58.
Yeah, I think that
obviously a different kind of player. He's not going to be the Derek Thomas just crazy edge rusher. I don't know, maybe he will. Who knows what we have. I'd be happier if he turned into the kind of sideline to sideline linebacker that we had with Derek Johnson. That's what I would love to see out of this guy.
That's the ceiling, hopefully, yeah.
If that's a position that he's going to play, but still, it's really cool to see a linebacker come in at pick number 58 to Kansas City. I think that's just super cool. I'm really concerned if he wears the 32 like he did in college. I'm just afraid that opposing teams are not going to be able to recognize that he's playing at a linebacker position.
They'll think of, why is the running back running at me?
Yeah, and somebody's probably going to get hurt. And I'm really concerned if we play the Bucks again, like
God,
in the
that's
Super
stupid
Bowl.
rule. That's stupid rule.
I can't believe they changed that jersey rule.
Man.
Can't believe they changed that jersey rule.
Oh.
Brian, any thoughts?
Well,
we're trolling Tom Brady, by the way, Brian, if you want to join in on that.
Well, I'm looking at Nick Bolton's stats right here. 6 feet tall, 232. So that means I'm 6 feet tall. So if I lose 20 pounds, does that mean I get to play for the Chiefs? Do I qualify? Well, then I'm looking at this other number, born in 2000, and I believe I was a junior in high school at that time. So maybe that's the stat I need to focus on. Oh God, guys, born after 2000. And while I was getting my driver's license, this guy was entering the world, and here we are now. And yeah, I'm excited to see 2-time All SEC, and looks like he's a player. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right, so let's go on to our next pick. At the 63rd pick, we took a center, one Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on him?
I think this now makes the offensive line probably the deepest unit on the team. I mean, now you've added on a guy who, maybe he's another Mitch Morse or Rodney Hudson type of talent, which if that's true, hell yes, sign me
Good
up.
God, yeah.
And even if he's not, you've got Austin Blythe at least.
Keep him around
to-
past his rookie contract if that's the case.
no kidding. But I mean, name a weak spot on the offensive line right now. I mean, I know there's a bit unknown right now with Lucas Niang, but I think I have confidence in Lucas Niang's talent. So I think this definitely makes this potentially one of maybe the top 5 offensive lines in football. I'll go so far to say that, if we also believe that Orlando Brown can be what he can be.
Yeah, which I don't know that there's a better thing that you could do if you've got your Patrick Mahomes and you have the weapons that he have. I mean, top 5 offensive line. Bring it on. Good God. What I think is crazy is that let's just say that Lucas Niang finds his way into the starting offensive line and Creed Humphrey finds his way into the starting offensive line. That means 2 out of the 5 starting linemen went through their entire college career without giving up a sack. It's that's insane. In the Big 12.
In the Big 12.
In the Big 12, where they don't run the ball in the Big 12. They wing it. They wing it.
Like 100 pass plays
That's
a
how we
game.
do it.
Literally.
That's how we do stuff. That's how we do stuff. We're good
Spray
to go.
and pray over here. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spray and pray. Yeah.
Oh, and think about the quarterbacks that he was snapping to. He was snapping to Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. So I mean, he's played with some pretty good players there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Might as well snap it to Mahomes as well.
Right.
Brian, what are your thoughts on Creed Humphrey?
Well, you mentioned the Big 12. I was thinking, well, Texas Tech, our quarterback, also Big 12, if I recall correctly. So basically, it's like a Big 12, really just kind of bringing the heat here for this situation. Another what is here? 2-time first team All Big 12, second team All Big 12, and Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year, 2019, 2020.
I think the guy got his degree in finance too.
Really?
Which is another one of those things you can't mail it in, I mean,
I bet you when he turns 65, he'll probably be making more money doing that than he'll make in the NFL. I bet you once he takes this big contract and makes that compounding interest work for him, I guarantee you he's going to be making more money that way.
I mean, there's certain business degrees that you can mail it in on to a certain degree. Finance is not one of them.
No.
I can assure you of that.
It is not.
Those were the classes in my MBA classes where the teacher's just like, look, I know you don't like this. I know that this isn't the type of stuff you want to do. I'm going to get you through this class because I guarantee that you could, sell circles around me. So let's just kind of help each other out. We'll go from there. The other thing that jumped out at me about Creed Humphrey is that he was born in 1999, about a month after I graduated high school. So this is another great, just way to age everybody. Really appreciate that, Creed. There was nothing that made me happier than seeing that. Kind of reminds me back to first like job outside of college. I worked for a temp agency and they put me doing payroll for like a major franchise restaurant organization. So I had an entire region of something like 120 stores that I did payroll for. And so part of the job of working in payroll is they hire new people at all these different retail stores, and it's retail fast food. So there was a lot. Spent a ton of time doing that. And I remember seeing a lot of like late 80s at the time, mid 80s birthdays, stuff like that. And just like, The first day that I got a 1991, I was just like, Jesus, good God, Judas Priest, what? 1991? I like this person's in diapers, right? It's like, how are they working at a restaurant? It's like, oh Jesus, I'm almost, all right, cool, I'm gonna put this in. So that was kind of my vibe looking at Creed Humphrey. It's just like, yep, of course we have people born in the late 90s and early 2000s that are playing professional football now.
Hey, you guys remember Y2K? Remember that?
I do remember Y2K. Okay, so
Yes.
Chris, what did you do for
God.
Y2K New Year's?
Let's see, I was a freshman in college, so I probably don't remember much about that night. But well, no, that was my high school senior year. Well, still don't remember much about that night, but
Did you graduate in 2000 or 99?
yeah, 2000. So that would have been my
Yes.
senior year in high school.
So that would have been my freshman year in college.
Or I was probably doing the overnight or the midnight shift at Hy-Vee. I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I just remember sitting in my buddy's basement. We're just like, all right, let's see if the lights go off. It's like, shit, they got all the computer code done. Damn it.
I was babysitting. I was
Damn,
babysitting.
damn Peter Gibbons.
I was waiting for a plane. Peter Gibbons. That's a
Yeah,
Destro.
Peter, I'm gonna have to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and fill that code out.
But I was told I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume between 8:30
When
and
I'm
9:30.
when I'm collating, if he gets to listen to that while he's counting what do I listen to this when I'm collating, and yeah, damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Brian, we interrupted you. What were you
Yeah.
gonna say?
Oh, sorry.
I was babysitting. I was babysitting the night of Y2K. I remember the kid I was babysitting. He was God, probably around 6 or 7 at the time. I was like 15, maybe I was about 15 at that time, and yeah, I remember when it turned 2000, and also I was like waiting for a plane to fall out of the sky. That didn't happen, and that's good. But I don't know if you're from Hayes, Kansas. What I like to do is I watch Channel 8, and you watch the year change. I always watch the year change. It was always like a minute and a half behind the actual thing, but I was like, I wanted to watch that number change for some reason. Like the year change there. It's like watching the odometer in your car go from 100, like 999,000 to 100,000 or whatever.
Okay, so you brought up Channel 8. We need to talk about what Channel 8 was. So Channel 8 was, for the most part, what I remember growing up is it was polka music, because we're in Hayes, Kansas. So it was polka music, and it was all these different colored strips, and it was like news. So think of the earliest video animation that you can possibly think of. Just bad PowerPoint, just strips going, but there was always like the clock countdown, and so you could listen to an accordion and some guy going, all of the acquaintance be forgot, right as everything went. Yeah.
And yeah, well, I always thought of it as like now that I reflect on it, it's like classified ads, like for whatever local business.
It was classified ads.
It was-
Yeah.
It was really cheap to buy too. You can like buy ads on there, and it's like it didn't cost very much, and you like put your opinions on there. Remember that personal opinion guy? He always like commented on stuff. I didn't know what he was talking about. There's like references to whatever's going on in local government, and he would always be like flashing. It was like that annoying flashing on like in those websites, like in the
Yeah, it
early
was those
90s.
Ron Hubs.
Yeah, right.
Like,
That was
don't
his name,
fly
yeah,
on the
Ron
Hayes
Hubs.
Airport. So what I think we really missed out on is that Craigslist wasn't a thing at the same time as this, and we didn't have this meld together where you had like misconnections. I was in
Yeah.
the Dillons and Hayes, and I saw you across the produce aisle. That would have been great.
Oh, that would. You know what? If hindsight is 2020. We missed out. But
We could always go back and put that channel out again. I mean, shit, people watched it back then. Why
Oh,
wouldn't
hey.
they now?
hey, we should make a parody video using Channel 8 as a template, and we should like make it like a comedy, some sort of comedy sketch like that using that. I don't know what it is, yeah, but make it promote
Pick
our
up the
channel
phone and
somehow.
call OK Go. They'll write a song for us.
Okay, go. Okay, sure. Okay, why not? I'll bring out my accordion if I have to and get the polka music going.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. So I think that we just committed ourselves to a music episode. Yeah, that would have been good.
I think I can recreate that channel, by the way, just with what I know with Premiere Pro and with just.
I have no doubt in my mind you could recreate that channel. I wouldn't be surprised if our kids could recreate that channel at this point.
Yeah, you're right. Probably be down on a tablet or something at this point. This was a high-paying job at one time. This
Exactly.
was? You're kidding me.
Oh god, I remember the newspaper. It was whatever replaced the Far Side. I think it was called Close to Home, but there was one comic one time, and it was every parent's dream, and it was this mom sitting here picturing her kids sitting with a Nintendo controller and looking at a classifieds in a newspaper to date when this happened. And it was something like high paying jobs for people that are good at Nintendo. Experienced Mario player needed $100,000 salary. It's like, yeah, where do I turn my resume in? But anyway,
Well, Twitch streamers make that nowadays playing Mario, so I guess it kind of worked out.
exactly, yeah. Well, speaking of Mario, my 5-year-old son watches a ton of Mario videos, and it's just watching Mario play that he watches on YouTube. And so we're trying to get him over the hump of not being afraid of the water and swim lessons. And so I have him and his sister, and we're doing swim lessons, and so I kind of shame him back and forth. I'm just like, well, you're not going to have a worse swim lesson than your sister did, right? You know. And then I'm going to her going, there's no way your brother is going to be a better swimmer than you. And so that gets him to loosen up a little bit. But the thing that really got my son over the edge was he's just like, well, I want to swim like Mario. And I'm like, all right, let's swim like Mario. I'll play the goddamn music when we get in the car, you know. And so it's like swimming.
Come up for air because Mario can hold his breath forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we watch those too. Yeah, my son loves Mario. It's really easy to watch too. I could watch it for hours, like watching how good they've gotten at playing those games, and like, oh, this is.
Oh yeah.
And they find secrets I didn't even know because I wasn't gonna pay for Nintendo Power magazine. Just like, you get to have like a friend who knew something, or you like get that magazine. I'm like, I don't have either.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, so let's get into our next pick because we're still talking about the Chiefs draft.
All right.
All right, so in the 4th round, pick 144, we got a Florida State DN. That's Joshua Kendo. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts on him, Chris? Our first defensive player that we took.
Well, so what I heard about Joshua Kendo was that when he was being recruited out of high school, he was actually the 3rd ranked recruit in the nation. So, guy's got talent, clearly, because I believe the number 1 recruit that year was Chase Young, just to kind of put some perspective on that. But he's 6'7", 265, like, and I constantly hear he's the Steve Spagnuolo prototype defensive end size, and it sounds like he has a ceiling. He just couldn't reach it at Florida State, probably because that football program's been a dumpster fire over the last, probably his 3 or 4 years there. But
It's Jimbo Fisher left, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
After a title with Jameis.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's some talent there. So if they can unlock it and get this guy, basically to reach his potential, they might have a steal there in the 4th round.
Yeah, the rap that I keep seeing is that he needs to develop and stay healthy. Health and injury history seems to be kind of the thing. But yeah, he's a base defensive end for a 3-4 or for a 4-3 scheme. So yeah, he's a Spagnuolo guy. Spagnuolo's schemes where he works the best are really when you're doing what the Bucs did to us in the Super Bowl. You just have a front 4 that gets a ton of pressure, which means you have to have good defensive ends. And Mike Dana seemed to have a good year as a rookie last year. He started to contribute. So I just look at this as any kind of pressure that we can put on the Frank Clarks of the world is a good thing. And realistically speaking, I hope that he looks at the fact that they drafted a DN 2 years in a row and it ticks him off and he plays better. That's what I really want more than anything.
Well, he's still raking in over 20 million a year, so I don't think he's gonna get too ticked off.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that guy gets motivated by pressure in a pretty big way. I don't think it takes a whole lot to get that guy riled up. No. So let's just make sure we're pointing this Avalanche in the right direction.
No, but I don't think Kendo's going to get a whole lot of snaps in his rookie year, given I think his inexperience in college. But if he can make the rotation and be one of those, if he can be a 3rd down guy, I mean I think that would probably be the most you could expect out of him in his rookie year.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, any thoughts on our new defensive end? And I said first defensive pickup. That's the only defender we picked up.
It is, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I'm looking at the games last year, I was just counting up. I was trying to do some stats in my head about like the number of games we won by, or it was within one score.
Mhm.
And I counted 11. So someone check me on that to make sure I'm wrong. I think that's about right though when I'm looking at this. So
you're
that
right, yeah.
that seems to me, that signals to me like the more weapons we have on defense. Obviously we have our offensive weapons. We know what we got there, and I remember watching the season, going through it, thinking like defense seemed to hold their own, but except for a a couple of games there. But I never walked away from a game thinking, man, our defense is just at least last season. I never felt like it was what it was the year before that. Remember the Indianapolis Colts game where they just ran over us with the running game the year before, and there was a number of times I remember sitting with my friends and we're all kind of down and out. And I was like, these are professional athletes. They will figure it out. That they know what they're doing. They know how to adjust. They know what their skill sets are. We just got to find a process that works and find a program that works. And that's, what a defensive coordinator Spags does. And it was with that year. Remember, it was that was so great avail because we won the Super Bowl. And last year, I remember thinking like, we it never really put me like on like put me back our defensive game. But when I look at the 11 scores within one score, 11 games within one score, the weapons we have to build that up as well. Because I know the discussion, the front page above the fold headline is offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. But we cannot just let the other side of the ball get away from us and the discussion going. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out. But yeah, just remember
Yeah,
that name.
Brian, I think that's a great point. I think I said this before, but I think the offense gets too much blame for these one score games to say the offense took their foot off the pedal. Well, you know what? The defense was giving up a lot of yards and points late. And part of the reason why is because they couldn't get to the quarterback when they knew the other team was passing the ball every down to try and catch back up. So, I mean, to me, that was actually, I think that was a kind of an unspoken factor as to why the Chiefs were getting, as some people would accuse them of just getting by and not looking motivated. But I definitely wouldn't say that about the Chiefs. But if they actually could get off the field in the third and fourth quarter, I don't think they end up in games that close.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest though. Our line not letting us run the ball effectively participated in that as well. We weren't a perfect team, but I never felt kind of like Brian said, I never felt like our defense was a liability like in 2018. In
Oh,
2018, I think we were all kind of waiting for the defense to be the thing that pulled the rug out from under us, and they totally did. In that AFC Championship game, and I wouldn't say that that's what happened last year, but I have to say, Chris, I agree with you that the defense didn't keep up the end of holding a lead as well. But I also think that the offensive line was a pretty big culprit. And
yeah.
When you're talking about things that you can control heavily, I would like to have seen a little bit more, I guess, talent coming in on defense. But one of the comments that I made, I think this was on one of the Arrowhead Kingdom Facebook groups, is that I'll be happy with the amount of linemen we have when we have two starters in every position.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll say this to kind of close this out. I mean, it's the NFL. It's not college. It's not easy to win the NFL. And yeah, so what if you rip off 11 games that are just one score? That's still 11 wins. And I mean, you're beating other guys that are getting paid to beat you. So
yeah.
I don't like the fact that I think some people try to take away what the Chiefs did. They were 14-2 for Christ's sake. And I don't care if they were winning games by one score. They won 14 out of 15 games where they had their main guys out there on the field.
Yep. Great points there. So let's move on to our next thing as we get back to the offense. So we're going to pick a half line, half weapon with Noah Gray. The Chiefs traded up to get Noah Gray from Duke. So what's the thought process on Noah Gray?
I'm glad to see them take a tight end. They traded up for him, so they like the guy. I keep hearing that he may not be maybe your prototypical size for a tight end. They keep throwing out the term H-back with him, meaning he's a hybrid tight end, running back, or fullback. When I keep hearing that, the guy that I actually think about is Kyle Juszczyk at the 49ers, which if he's comparable to Kyle Juszczyk, that's a big win right there because Kyle Juszczyk is a hell of a football player. And he's a very good receiver. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, if he can at least be a guy who can um, complement Travis Kelsey as a receiver, as a tight end, I think that's going to help the offense a lot.
Yeah, so the things that I'm reading about him is that he was sure-handed, so he had 107 catchable targets in college, and he had 3 drops.
Yeah.
So that's impressive. It's also saying that he did the majority of his damage with underneath passes, and so definitely the thing about being versatile, he lined up all over the place. So he lined up in the slot, he lined up on the end of the line, and also in the backfield. And it looks like he lined up in the slot the most,
Yeah.
which I think it's kind of funny that he came out as a tight end, but it doesn't matter. All I know is that almost Andy Reid told us that we should expect to be seeing a tight end. I think that he was expecting a little more in the second or third round, but hey, I mean, the idea that we're going out and getting Mahomes another weapon. I mean, I've said this numerous times that I think that when you have your quarterback figured out, when you look at your first 3 rounds of a draft, you should look at getting a weapon. You should look at getting protection. You should look at getting just an athlete that can contribute in a major way. Um, Ideally, you get some of those things to overlap and you can address both sides of the ball and everything like that. But I would say if we're looking at the first picks, we talked about 4. So obviously bringing in Orlando Brown, but so our first 3 picks were linebacker, defensive end. So yeah, totally botched that. Where our first defensive player came off in our first pick that we made. So we took 2 of those and
Oh,
4
that's right.
offensive players. I'm a moron. But so we grabbed the linebacker, who was an athlete. We grabbed a solid just protection piece in Creed Humphrey. And then we picked a good player as a defensive end. But, we get into the 5th round and we're picking a weapon that a lot of
Mhm.
people thought were going to be gone before. So, great job, Brett Veach, and happy to see another target for Mahomes to throw to. And I hope he blocks well as well. Brian, thoughts?
Well, whenever Chris was talking about kind of Kelsey's size, I will say this: Noah's 6'4", Kelsey's 6'5", and Kelsey is 260, and Noah at this point is 240. So he just needs to pack a few McRibs in himself and eat a few of those, and he should be.
Hey, we have a source for that, right? We're trying to get JJ Watt to come to town.
That's right.
We tracked down some
McRibs.
McRibs. Yeah.
Um,
I think the rub on Gray is that there was talk that his arms aren't long enough or something like that,
okay.
which
Don't have
which is
that
going to come into play when you're trying to block the long defensive ends, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of seems to the thing where you got a bunch of people that were on a camera for 4.5 hours and needed to have something to talk about.
Well, if your
Yeah,
if your tight end is blocking a defensive end, there's something wrong with your defensive scheme or your offensive
like
scheme.
it's
So,
like
yeah.
that scene from Moneyball where they're breaking down the
Yeah.
pictures. Like, nah, he's got an ugly girlfriend, no confidence. Like, that's not that's
Yeah,
not how that
exactly.
works.
It's
That's
just
not how
like,
that works.
guys, we are card counters at the poker table. It's like you're just sitting here. It's just like that. All you're doing is just talking.
Weak
You're
chin. He's got a
talking.
weak chin. Doesn't look right. Like, that's not having the thing to do anything.
Exactly.
I will say this though. Here I'm looking at his stats at goduke.com, and I want to say this to anyone listening who maybe works in the stats field and look on websites. Go to goduke.com. Make your website look like this because they lay out the stats very nicely. Apparently, Duke cares about how their stats are presented, and it's really easy to use. So now this is a website I will back because they do a good job. Now I'm looking at his they have his lines as stats laid out by year 2017 to 2020. And what I like about it is he just improved every year, everything except for 2020, which we're not going to count that because that was just a dumpster fire every year, and everything was different in terms of how we're counting things. So using normal seasons with normal rules and normal, everything's working the way we expect it to. He just improved every year, a drastic improvement. So that's what I like to see whenever, obviously, when you perform at elite levels, obviously you grow, you adapt, you adjust, and then you just get better. That seems like what he's good at doing. So that's good.
Good stuff. All right, so let's move on to our other weapon, in the 5th round, 19 picks later, and 181. Clemson wide receiver Cornell Powell. And the only thing that I'm gonna kick this off with saying is that Clemson knows how to make receivers. That's the biggest thing. Clemson knows how to make receivers. So Chris, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, the big thing on him is like he actually didn't really crack or really get many snaps at Clemson until his 5th year, but he took advantage of the opportunity. So I mean, yeah, I think he has size, so he adds some size to the wide receiver room, which is good. And yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, if he's a typical Clemson receiver, which I think they've had a few like DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, Mike Williams. I mean, just to name a few. He's obviously coming from a place that has a good reputation.
Yeah, if he could use that size and step into a potential X number 2 role that we've been looking for, I'm going to be happy if he puts heat on McCole Hardman. And again, I hope that he comes in and makes Hardman mad and play better. The two players that I hope that this draft affects in a deep way is I hope that McCole Hardman and Frank Clark just get mad. The depth was drafted behind them, and it builds a fire. And they play better.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Hardman.
But by all means, these rookies can take those roles too if you're good enough. So, Brian, thoughts on our Clemson wide receiver?
Well, now I was looking up on Twitter, and did my New York Jets do a good job on their wide receiver? I heard they got stacked up pretty good. Did we know about that?
So your New York Jets probably had a reasonably good draft. Is really what it comes down to.
I haven't seen them in like the worst drafts, like the Raiders. But
yeah. No, the Jets seem to do what they were supposed to do. The only real thing is they took a questionable quarterback. And really the whole question with it is they drafted somebody that's going to need some development. And if there's a worse organization to develop a quarterback than the Jets, I don't know which one it is. Yeah, probably. So they took a quarterback as well, but yeah. So, but all things considered, the Jets seem to, get good value, not do any kind of major overreaching. They didn't do any, hey, I'm going to break the draft because I'm John Gruden, I know more than anybody type of stuff. It seems like they took a pretty business type approach, and it could work out for them.
Well, now one thing about our wide receivers, it seems like there's new people coming in, people moving on. It seems like it's a heavy rotation, heavy kind of turnover situation. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just kind of how I see it, like from my perspective. I guess any position is kind of like that, but we do have, as opposed to our standards that we know, like in the quarterback position or the tight end position. But yeah, I mean, if we get more weapons coming our way, give them a shot and see what happens. But I mean, it seems like it's just such a spot that people come in, go out, that and we give them a shot. If you feel that's going to help our weapons and then make everyone make everyone else better around you, go for it. And with all this Jets talk, I'm now on Amazon. I think I might need to buy a Jets shirt sometime tonight. So whenever that we play the Jets, whenever the Jets have a game, I want to wear my Jets shirt. So I have to do that. Oh, Josh, if you want to buy one for me and send it to me, I'm not against that either.
Yeah, and Coors Light can sponsor us if they want to too. Yeah. You want some Carmex? Okay, so last pick that we had was another brick in the wall, Tennessee guard Trey Smith. Great O-line depth, and again, another brick in the wall. Chris, anything to add beyond that?
I just keep hearing over and over. I don't care who you have been going to, if it's ESPN, CBS, any pundit strongly believes like the rich got richer with this pick because Trey Smith, outside of health concerns, would have
By the
probably
way,
gone.
Being rich is awesome. Just to
I'm not complaining.
Being rich is awesome.
Actually, my song for the draft would have been "Privilege" by REM because I definitely feel privileged here. But I heard that he would either be a late first or a second round pick, and the Chiefs got him in the 6th because of blood clots that he's been fighting through. And if he's able, if that issue can be managed, I mean, again, this is another reason why I think the Chiefs' offensive line is the deepest unit on the team. And with this type of depth, I mean, I don't think you're going to see another makeshift offensive line like we saw in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so player bio, Mr. Football Award twice, first team All-American and top 10 overall recruiting rating nationally. So that was University School at Jackson in Tennessee. Then he received, let's see here, second team All SEC, freshman All American, SEC All Freshman recognition as a 12-game starter at right guard and left tackle. So there you go. There's some versatility. Then blood clots in his lungs. And his mom, unfortunately passed away from congestive heart failure when he was at the university school at Jackson in Tennessee. So, sorry to hear about that for him and everything. But he lost a lot of weight. He garnered first team All SEC honors after he moved to left guard. He started 12 of his 13 games played there. And this is just looking at his biography. Received the Jason Witten Award for leadership on the field and community service off the field. And Fritz Pollard Trophy for extraordinary courage and community values. So there you go. Played in the Senior Bowl, all of that stuff. I mean, he's a guy that sounds like a pro. And, hopefully his body doesn't fail him. And, after we go through the whole list of everything, Chris, who do you think our starting offensive line is going to be?
My feeling is going to be from left to right. I've got Brown, Tooney, Humphrey. I think he's going to win out the job. LDT probably. And then at right tackle, probably Lucas Niang.
I would agree with you with everything except that I think Blythe holds Humphrey off for the beginning of the season. I think Blythe is too much of a
which isn't a bad
pro
thing
to lose his job. And but I think it's one of those things where we're going to be going through the preseason wondering which of those two is going to get it. And I also feel like Remmers and Yang are going to battle for that right tackle position. And there is nothing that I would love more than to see a battle for every single position. I don't think anybody's going to have anything to say with Thuney at the left guard position, but I tell you the battle that I would love to see is Lucas Niang taking a run at that left tackle job.
Oh yeah.
And Brown relegating him to the right. There is nothing I would love to see more than that, than to have two pissed off tackles just ready to prove themselves week in and week out. And we might be having Mahomes do 12-step drop back type of things before he wings the ball 80 yards down the field. I am so looking forward to watching this line get to work. It's not even funny.
I see a lot of post routes by Tyreek Hill down the middle.
Absolutely.
He's able to get the protection for damn sure.
We got Hill on a quadruple move post.
Yeah. You'll see some more jet chip wasp, because that's what you'll see.
Yeah. Do we have time to run wasp? It's like, Patrick, we can run triple wasp. What's that's triple wasp? I don't know. We're gonna make it up right now. Yeah. So we're gonna have somebody walk by and like draw something out on a napkin. Which, by the way, have either of you guys watched the new Mighty Ducks series on Disney Plus?
I don't have access, but I know of it.
It's pretty awesome. It really is.
Yeah.
It's nice to see Emilio Estevez back as Gordon Bombay, and he's the awkward Gordon Bombay that you want. So
very cool. Disney Plus just for that.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, when it was about to come out, Hulu was like had the original Mighty Ducks like front and center. So it's like one Saturday morning, I'm like, yeah, I'll take a trip back to childhood here. And like, yeah, I still love the first Mighty Ducks movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Oh yeah.
I like the second one, and I think it's awesome that they make the evil team the ice team from the ice hockey team from Iceland. They use colors that Iceland would never use. Yes. And they have the coach who was the guy who was just the total, goon that doesn't teach
Yeah.
kids right. There's no way in hell that guy coaches
With
for
the-
Iceland in real
With the
life.
Pat Riley hairdo.
Exactly,
Slick
exactly.
back and all that, yeah.
Iceland does not hire that guy. I promise you, Iceland doesn't
Is-
hire that guy.
Is it as ridiculous
Yeah.
as in Twister? Like you have the good guy scientists and you have the bad guy scientists. They're all about the money, not the science. I'm like, your sponsor's tornado hunting, and who cares? Like, why are they like wearing black and like Matrix style glasses when
Yeah.
they're hunting twisters?
For the record, I think Twister is one of the top 5 dumbest movies I've ever seen. I hated that movie. I've always hated that movie.
Yeah, it was something. I don't know. What's the cow scene is pretty funny. And what else?
Well, and then where they have the TV antenna. Hey, spoiler word alert on a 30-year movie. They have the antenna impale Carrie Ellis through the windshield.
yeah.
It's just like, come on, this is dumb. Okay, so anything else we want to get into before we do our final takes?
One last thing I want to say about Trey Smith is he took Tennessee scholarship over Ohio State, Ole Miss, and Alabama. So
Oh, well, there you go.
Heavy hitters, sir.
He was a Tennessee guy. Yeah,
he had offers from all of those. So.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. All right, Brian, what's your last take?
Oh, my last take. Okay, I thought I talked about this earlier, but I just want to put it out there. We finally got into the Fitbit world in this household. I gotta say, it's pretty sweet. It took us a long time to get there, but we have the Fitbit now, and my wife is now trying to get her 10,000 steps in, which means like instead of, we don't want to go outside and do that, so running around the house and doing it instead of like running up down the sidewalk or something. But it's a nice way to get out and do something. And one thing I do like about it is like if you go traveling, if you're in a tourist situation, they give you like a nice little walking pass so you can find wherever you're at, so you can get your 10,000 steps in on a preferred like walking trail of some kind. So I gotta say, I'm a big fan, and the gamification of getting off your ass and doing something, I'm all about it. You can turn this into a game. I should be doing it, but turn it into a game and trick me into doing it. I like that. I'm a big fan of that kind of play. So thank you, Fitbit.
All right, so Brian's getting fit or someone's getting bit. Chris, what do you have?
All right. Well, so the Aaron Rodgers saga continues. The latest news story is that the Packers are actively looking for another quarterback right now, which they say is really just to be another training camp arm. So Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers does not, I guess, wear themselves out too much during training camp. But really, the whole point here is just how incredibly good the Chiefs organization is, because if every draft pick you hear, especially on the offensive side of the ball, you hear Patrick Mahomes' name mentioned as being involved. And I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes is making the pick, but there's clearly some communication there, and with the front office, with the coaching staff, and with the guy who's most impacted by every player you take on offense, just to be on the same page and not to blindside him. And I don't know exactly what happened with the Jordan Love pick, because from on the surface it sounds like Aaron Rodgers had no idea that was coming, and I wonder just how much the Packers organization just literally does not talk to him. So just be grateful that the Chiefs are as good as they are from the top down. And I feel very confident because of that Patrick Mahomes is not going to end up, trying to shoot his way out of town like Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, or even Russell Wilson have.
Yep. I definitely think that we're fortunate to have an owner and coach and Clark Hunt, coach and Coach Reed and Brett Veach. And yeah, it seems like all three of those guys talk. I maintain the thing that got John Dorsey fired was that he cut Macklin without anybody knowing. There's no way that's ever going to get confirmed, but it just seemed like a bit of disharmony. And, Clark Hunt don't play that. Homie don't play that.
Nope.
And the Packers don't have an owner. And Mark Murphy's a joke. I think that guy's the biggest joke in the NFL. From just the leader standpoint. And I think he is the third worst owner behind Dan Snyder and Jim Dolan. So that's it. I have nothing good to say about Mark Murphy. This whole thing's his fault. Even if Gutekunst was the one who picked Jordan Love when nobody knew, you get fired for doing stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, as if firing him is actually going to keep Rodgers on the team.
Well, you should have fired him last year. Should have
Sounds
fired
like
him
it,
last year.
yeah.
You should have fired him last year. Just by like, did you seriously trade up for a quarterback without telling us about it?
Yeah.
It's like you're fired. You're fired.
That's just bad communication.
You're
in
fired.
business
Here's
in
your
general. Yeah.
whatever $1 million severance. It's like it's not even worth it. It's just like get out of our building and don't ever come back. It is ridiculous. You seriously shot a missile across the deck of one of the best quarterbacks, to ever play. It's just
Yep.
unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Did he win the MVP last season too?
He did.
He did. Yeah. I mean,
He had one of the greatest seasons any quarterback has had, too.
Exactly.
That's the funny thing. Yeah.
the way that Murphy and Gutekunst work, I mean, this is like Murphy watching Gutekunst show up to work drunk and, not only not sending him home or not only not firing him, you didn't even send him home. It's like this doesn't work. You can't have a fifth in your desk drawer at a Fortune 500 company. It's just you don't get to do that.
This isn't Mad Men anymore.
Exactly. And your dad's not the owner, so you don't get to
We
act that
can't
way.
find out about this. You're gonna do that. We can't find
Exactly.
out about it.
Exactly. All right. So my final take, gonna go back to baseball here. I don't know if you guys saw this, but John Means from the Orioles threw a
Yep.
no-hitter the other day.
Wow.
And the Orioles are a horrible baseball team, probably the worst one in the league. They have been for a couple of years. This year is going to be no different, but John Means goes out and threw a no-hitter. Now, the thing that's crazy, anytime I see a no-hitters hit, by the way, the Orioles have 10. That was the 10th. That's a pretty good number of no-hitters. But anytime I see a no-hitter, my first question is, okay, so how close was it to a perfect game? And so this one in particular was really weird. So I go to look at the box score and I see 0 walks, I see 0 errors, and I see 0 hit by pitch. I'm like, well, what the hell happened? So what it was in the third inning, there was a wild pitch. And not only is that a rare thing, this was actually the first time that it ever happened where a guy throws a no-hitter, he doesn't walk anybody, there isn't an error, there isn't a hit by pitch for putting a batter on base or anything like that.
Just a drop third strike. Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I remember when we first started playing baseball. Is like you run after the third strike because there's a 50-50 chance that your 4th grade classmate didn't catch the ball and he's not going to be able to stand up and throw it to first base. And I don't know what I think about this situation. As a whole, I kind of, since they gave it a wild pitch. So there's a wild pitch and there's a pass ball. A wild pitch means that it was the pitcher's fault. A pass ball means it was the catcher's fault. I think there's a little more nuance to it, but that's really it. But to a certain degree, it's just like, man, come on, catch.
Yeah.
Get in front of it, knock it down, make a play.
Oh, geez.
Well, the other cool thing about John Means is he is the first Kansas born. He was born in Kansas. Pitcher to throw a no hitter since Walter Johnson. And for any baseball fans out there, you're talking like pre 1940 when you're talking Walter Johnson. I can't remember exactly what era he pitched in, but a little bit of a tie there to the state of Kansas.
Yeah, John Means from Olathe. So
that's right.
Walter Johnson, baseball.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look here. We'll see. Okay, so this picture is really old looking, and he's got one of those like crunched up hats. It's got half a bill and it's turned off to the side. So that tells
his glove
you
is probably not that much bigger than his hand.
Yeah. So Walter Perry Johnson, November 6th, 1887 is when he was born, and he died in 1946. Nicknamed Barney and the Big Train. He was from Humboldt.
Yep.
Humboldt. I don't know where that is.
Humboldt, Kansas.
Yeah.
Brian, where's Humboldt?
It is south of Salina, southwestish. Central westish. It's like maybe west of Hillsborough by about an hour and a half, maybe. Tell me I'm wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. So let's see. Humboldt is on Highway 169. So that's okay. So it's by Iola. Okay, so it's just north of Chanute.
No, I was way I was way
Yeah,
in the wrong
yeah. So
direction.
it's southeast.
was I
It's
thinking
actually
of?
east of El Dorado. So
Well
it's
then.
just north of Chanute, Kansas. Which shout out to Ben Barnhart if you're still around watching any of this stuff. I remember one of the great Roy D. Mercer gigs that he had. He called the Tulsa Travel Agency, or sorry, the Bixby, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Tulsa Travel Agency, to ask about one of their tours because he had a bunch of couples from Chanute, Kansas, coming down for a reunion.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
how much
think
for one of y'all's tours?
I think what I described to you when I was describing where I thought Humboldt was, I was looking at what I said, and turns out I confused Humboldt with Pratt, which is
Oh,
Oh, wow.
very bad, very bad. So I mean, I didn't confuse it. I remember playing Humboldt in a basketball tourney whenever I was like in high school, and it was in that part of the state. And I'm like, I can't imagine
Sure.
someone driving from all the way from Chanute to do that. But turns out I was wrong. They would drive that far. So okay.
Well, keep in mind, we drove all the way down to Ulysses and Elkhart for really anything. So
Yeah, that was a long drive.
logic's kind of out the window here.
I'd rather go to Hastings, Nebraska, and play.
Yeah,
Learn stuff.
yeah. Elkhart and Ulysses.
Oh, glory days.
All right. Anything else, guys?
Oh,
Nope. I think we
That was
covered
a
it. All
good
right.
lesson on the geography of the state of Kansas, sir.
All right. Well, everybody, good night. Go Chiefs. Go Royals. Go SKC.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.